We are just hours away from the start of the NBA regular season. And wow, what an off season it has been. Welcome to another episode of Full Court Press.
It's now time for your favorite in-depth basketball show with the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg and Raindrops. Goulet!
How's it going? It's Justin Raindrops Goulet here with you, and I am joined as always by the Nard Dogg, David Bernardi. How goes it, my good sir?
It goes really well, Goulet. Glad to have this full court press going up again. We're here for another episode.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think our last outing was at the end of May, so definitely good to get back and talk about what this NBA season will look like. Maybe let's start things off, talk a little bit about some of the big transitions, or transactions, I should say, that happened during the off season. Some of the big names that come to mind, of course, Kyrie Irving, now a member of the Boston Celtics. What do you think about that whole Irving situation? Because that was kind of up in the air for a while, and there was a little bit of what ifs around that situation.
Yeah, it was. I was pretty surprised to see Kyrie Irving ask for a trade, and then when you see it, he gets traded to the Boston Celtics, Eastern Conference rival. I did not expect that. I was expecting maybe a Western Conference team. I was thinking maybe he'll get traded to the Spurs, but the Celtics? Damn.
Yeah, it was a little wild, especially considering the fun fact of it all is that he was traded, Isaiah Thomas was part of that deal. So, in essence, the number one draft pick was traded for the last draft pick of their draft class. That's pretty cool.
I believe he was Isaiah Thomas was the 60th pick or something by the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, way back there. So, it's going to be interesting to see Isaiah Thomas suit up for the Cavaliers. Of course, we're going to have to wait a little bit because he is on the mend. He is on the injured reserve right now. But how do you think Isaiah Thomas is going to pair up with LeBron James? We saw that LeBron and Kyrie were a great combination, but this is going to be something a little different for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot different. I think Isaiah Thomas is maybe a better scorer than Kyrie Irving. But it's just it's a weird trade. I never expected the Celtics to trade Isaiah Thomas, especially after those two really great seasons he had with him. But I do think the Cavs are going to do really well, obviously. So
Yeah, for sure. It was one of those things with Isaiah Thomas as a member of the Celtics. He became the face of that franchise. He was, that the face of the Boston Celtics. He was the main guy in Beantown, and now it's Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving isn't alone in Boston because another huge move that happened during the offseason, of course, the Celtics being joined by Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Cleveland and Boston 1-2 in the East this year. And I think with LeBron James, he's got to carry the Cavs for the first half of the season, but let's not forget they got Dwayne Wade as well.
That's true. A little Miami Heat reunion. Of course, Chris Bosh could not be part of that deal because, unfortunately, it looks like Bosh's career is down and out. But Dwayne Wade has shown that he still has a little pep in his step. He's a little bit older. He's not necessarily as quicker as he used to be. But I think seeing Wade on the Cavs is going to be very interesting, teaming up with LeBron James once again, and then seeing that dynamic between Dwayne Wade and Isaiah Thomas.
And they also made an announcement that they're going to have Kevin Love playing center this year.
Wow. Cleveland Cavaliers, I do believe, with all the moves that have been made during the offseason, as a fan, I'd like to see the Raptors make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I know that's very early to say because the season hasn't even started yet, but I do believe taking a step back and just analyzing the rosters and the situations for both teams, that I'm going to say here, I think it's going to be the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's just going to come down to those two teams because you've got, like you said, LeBron, Isaiah Thomas, J.R. Smith, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Love going up against Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford. Those are stacked teams.
Yeah, and the Cavs also added Jeff Green and Jay Crowder to the roster, and Derrick Rose. We haven't even talked about that.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's true. So, not a bad team at all. It's crazy. You look at years ago, even when LeBron just started with the Cavaliers, they were
Yeah,
not a good team. But now
yeah,
you look at them and they're the top guns in the Eastern Conference, and it's gonna be crazy to watch.
yeah. And you see Celtics. They added Marcus Morris, and yeah, they're gonna be decent. Let's not forget they got a top pick in the draft this year, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
It'd be a wild ride in that East. Not as great as the West, but
You know, it almost seems like the Western Conference is always going to have that step up on the Eastern Conference.
yeah,
It just seems like that's what it is. It's been like that for the past few years now, and it doesn't look like that's going to be changing anytime soon. Although the East is getting a lot more competitive in a sense, although it's mainly competitive more so in the top 4 or 5 teams, and then after
yeah,
that it just kind of dwindles a little bit, you could say. But I think when all is said and done, it's going to be the Celtics against the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And as powerful as the Celtics may be, I still think it's going to be Cleveland going up against Golden State in the NBA Finals. I don't want to see it because we've seen it for the past few seasons, but I just think that's what it's going to be even again this year.
yeah. And you want to talk about the Raptors now? See what they got?
Of course, shifting down lower into the Eastern Conference, Raptors. What are you thinking they're going to finish? Because they made some offseason moves, picked up some new guys. How do you think they're going to fare at the end of the year?
Um, I'm thinking right now probably 45 to 50 wins. And the thing is, no one's really talked about how Ibaka and Lowry didn't really play together that much last season because of the Lowry injuries. Plus, he got injured in the second round against the Cavs. That's another thing no one's really seen yet.
That's true. No, it's a very good point. So we're going to actually be able to see that full-fledged dynamic between Lowry, Ibaka, and DeRozan, see how they do work as that Raptors big three in a longer sense. Because, yeah, as you said, Lowry didn't really get to play with Ibaka
Yeah,
last season because, of course, the Raptors were knocked out in the second round by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think after a season of training together, playing in the preseason together, um, Ibaka and Lowry have the potential to do some damage together. And then you throw DeRozan in there, who had a career year last season, and he's just going to get better and better. So I think the Raptors are going to be a tough team to beat. But yeah, I could see
they,
them finishing maybe
they
third or fourth.
yeah, they didn't make the most moves this offseason. They drafted OG Anunoby, who was going to be a top pick in the draft this summer, but due to tearing his ACL, he dropped in the draft, obviously, to the Raptors. And yeah, they also got CJ Miles. They traded Corey Joseph for him in the offseason. I don't mind that move at all because I like Corey Joseph, but I just think DeLon Wright could possibly be way better than Corey Joseph, and I'm fine with DeLon Wright being the backup to Lowry.
Yeah, that works for me for sure. I think CJ Miles has shown in the preseason the bit that he's played is that he fits in
Yeah,
well with the Raptors.
yeah, he can score. He can hit that three, and that's something that I don't even want to name this guy, DeMar Carroll, couldn't do.
He was a little bit shady upon his exit from Toronto off to the Brooklyn Nets. He's kind of throwing some shade towards Raptorland.
Yeah, I he was useless. He was useless on that roster. Never really lived up to his contract, obviously, and now the Brooklyn Nets have to deal with him.
Well, there you go. Well, the Raptors have a lot of shining stars, a lot of bright players. Like there's that big three of DeRozan, Lowry, and Ibaka, and of course Jonas Valanciunas. And I think OG Anunoby is going to do pretty well. Once he's at 100%, I think he has the potential to be a strong draft choice.
And we haven't even talked about the good old Norman Powell.
Ah, yes, yes. Norman Powell.
Re-signed somehow for only 4 years, $42 million, and I'll take that.
Oh yeah, because Norman Powell, I am all aboard the Norman Powell hype train, and I think he lives up to that hype. I think he is so talented, and he's got such a bright future in this league, and I hope he sticks with the Raptors in the long run because he's just boosted up his numbers year by year. He's done very well in the preseason.
Yeah.
Some games scoring 16, 15 points in the NBA preseason. And he's just so athletic. He's still a very young player, but he's gotten some really good playoff experience in the past 2 seasons with the Raptors. And I think he's just going to explode, and I think this is going to be his best season yet.
Yeah, for sure. I'm calling it's going to be his breakout year. As you said, he's gotten better each season, but I just think scoring-wise is going to be, I don't know, maybe up to like the 15 points a game around there.
That would be fantastic.
I'm not sure if they're doing it the starting lineup yet. I don't know if they're going to start Norman Powell or if they're going to start CJ Miles. But
who would you pick to start? Who would if you were in charge of setting the Raptors starting five? You go Powell or Miles?
I would love to start Powell, but the thing is, I think they would probably need him for the second unit off the bench. So, I don't know.
No, that's a good point because Norman Powell could be that second unit leader. And the thing is, if you start Norman Powell, if you bench Norman Powell and start CJ Miles, and Norman Powell is consistently the sixth man for the Raptors, and he just boosts those stats up, you're looking at a huge candidate for the Sixth Man of the Year award.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. He could totally pull that off. He's got the talent and he's got the drive. He's just going to have a great season, and I'm just so excited to see his play develop and to see what he does this year.
Now, what's your thoughts on Bruno Caboclo?
Bruno Caboclo is a fun situation. He's been with the Raptors for the past few years now, for quite a while, and he's been a star on the Raptors 905.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if... I know he's young, but Norman Powell's also young. I think they're around the same age, or Bruno's a year or two younger. But Bruno hasn't really gotten a chance to show what he can do in the NBA. He's played a few minutes here and there, but he hasn't really done enough to show us that he can play at that NBA level, even though there was so much build-up surrounding him before the Raptors drafted him a few years ago.
Yeah, and they've given him opportunities in this preseason, and he just hasn't lived up to it. And I don't know, maybe it's time to pull the plug on Bruno. I hate to say it.
It may just end up being an experiment that failed, unfortunately. He seems like a delightful person because he's always smiling and looking like he's having a good time. But we haven't really seen what he could really fully do in an NBA game. Maybe he'll get a few more chances this season. I doubt it. But yeah, it might just be time to pull the plug on the Bruno Caboclo project.
Yeah, and I like the Raptors starting five and all that, but I just their second unit, their bench, I wish they just improved it a little more.
Yeah, give it a little bit more of a boost. Because right now, what are we looking at? We're looking at Lowry to start, DeRozan, Ibaka, Valanciunas, and probably CJ Miles.
Yeah, and then coming off the bench, you got DeLon Wright, which I like DeLon Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Norman Powell. You got Siakam.
Yeah.
They signed KJ McDaniels, who's all right.
Yeah.
And you got Bebe.
Yeah.
Ben. I don't know. It's just they don't have that much like wing players off the bench that are super reliable.
Well, and the thing is, their bench is extremely young. Their bench is not that experienced. There's not really that many veterans per se on the Raptors. They are a very young team at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So they just need to maybe get that other extra piece, that other extra veteran leader to add into that second unit to give them that extra boost when the starters need a break. You can have that one guy come in and just kind of lead the way. But again, maybe that will be Norman Powell because, like I said, he's gotten quite a bit of experience over the past couple seasons with the Toronto Raptors. So maybe he'll be the one leading the way for the second unit. Or if not Norman Powell, if they decide to start Norman Powell and you got CJ Miles leading the bench, Miles has been in the NBA for years. So he certainly has a lot of experience and can help lead the young guys.
And it's funny story about CJ Miles because, I don't know, I was joking around before the offseason saying, I could see the Raptors signing a guy like CJ Miles. for, I don't know, like 3 years, 30 million, and that's basically what happened. They signed and traded Corey Joseph for CJ Bauer. I think it was 3 years, 5 million. So, it's funny how things work.
Oh yeah, small world, eh? Everything kind of comes full circle. So there you go. Now CJ Miles is a member of the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, it's funny how that happens. You predicted the future, Nard Dogg. It's amazing.
Yeah, just like I predicted Norman Powell would be this great.
Well, there you go. You called it years ago. We have it on record. You called it years ago, and you were right, sir. Now, shifting over to the Western Conference.
Oh boy.
Yeah, over to the Western Conference now. Speaking of young players and hype and build up, Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball.
How do you think Lonzo's going to do for the Los Angeles Lakers? He's had a decent preseason, putting up some solid stats. On September 30th against Minnesota, he had 5 points. Not a huge number, but then he accompanied that with 7 rebounds and 8 assists. So that's very promising for a rookie.
I think he'll do well. I don't know if he won't win Rookie of the Year in my opinion, but he'll do well. He'll be up there with like the top rookies this season. And his father thinks they're gonna make the playoffs, which is not gonna happen. I'm sorry, they just don't have the talent.
No, I still don't think the Lakers are gonna. I agree with you. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. They're still a little ways away from making the playoffs. So this is part of drafting Lonzo Ball was certainly part of a rebuild, and it's going to take them a little while before they get back into that playoff contention because the Western Conference is just too stacked, and the Lakers are too young, and they just don't have that star power to carry them into the playoffs.
Like for Lonzo Ball, I'm probably gonna say somewhere like he'll average like double figures in points. He'll probably get 6, 7 assists a game, 8 maybe, like, and he'll get like his 5 rebounds. He's an all around good player offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he is defensively, but
I think the biggest attraction when it comes to the Lakers is there's going to be a lot of hype around Lonzo's first NBA regular season game, but a lot of the attention is going to be on what LeVar Ball is up to.
yeah, we're going to be hearing a lot about him during this season and many years to come.
Oh yes, unfortunately so. Yeah, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know which term applies to the Ball family and LeVar Ball, but yeah, the Western Conference, it is super powerful. Like I said, I think the Golden State Warriors are en route to the NBA Finals again. Yeah, they're just such a powerhouse team. The players that they got, the talent that they have, it's just kind of a recipe to make it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it won't be. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for the Warriors again this season because so many West teams improved. Even Denver, they got Paul Millsap. It's just and Oklahoma City Thunder. Damn.
Oh yeah. You know what? OKC, it's gonna be the Thunder against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. I'm calling it right now, and I know that's a big thing to say because you've got the San Antonio Spurs, but I think the Thunder are gonna knock out the Spurs this season. The Thunder it's Russ Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony. That is a huge big three.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Dare I say Oklahoma City Thunder wins the championship this year?
If you know what, if I'm wrong and it's not Golden State and Cleveland in the NBA Finals, I will be totally fine with that. And if OKC goes to the finals, I am cheering for the Thunder because Russell Westbrook deserves an NBA championship. That guy is a beast.
Yeah, and there's also we're forgetting Houston Rockets who got Chris Paul.
Oh yeah, of course. See, there's a lot that happened this offseason. The funny thing is, this past NBA season, as we've discussed before, wasn't that exciting. It was kind of boring overall. It wasn't really anything to write home about. But this offseason was very exciting because there were so many big moves. Like I said, Chris Paul going to the Rockets, Paul George and Melo to the Thunder. Huge moves in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. So I think that top 4 in the West definitely has to be in no particular order: Golden State, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Houston.
Yeah, and there's also another team. They haven't made the playoffs in a while. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who made a lot of moves.
That's true, yeah. Jimmy Butler, now a member of the T-Wolves.
Jimmy Butler, they also signed Jeff Teague, and they got Jamal Crawford off the bench.
Yeah. Solid. Like, and the thing is, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, that rebuild and that obtaining momentum has kind of been in the works for the past few years now. Guys like Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns. So I think the future is bright. We've said it before, and maybe this will be the season that the T-Wolves crack their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, they also added Taj Gibson.
Yeah, and not a bad player at all. So the Western Conference, again, still more powerful than the Eastern Conference, but the Eastern Conference is getting stronger and stronger. So it's going to be, it's not. I don't think it's as obvious as it may be. I don't think it's as easy to predict who's going to make it to the NBA Finals as it was before last season began, because you have all these new additions to the teams in the Western Conference, like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're that much more powerful. So who knows? They might make their way all the way to the NBA Finals, and Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George may finally get an NBA championship. And for Raptors fans, Patrick Patterson may become an NBA champion. Who knows?
Forgot that guy.
That would be amazing.
I hate to say it, but do I hate to say it? But I was kind of glad to see him no longer be on the Raptors.
You know what? I always liked Pat, man. But I think it'll be good for him playing for Oklahoma City, playing with Westbrook, George, and Anthony, and Steven Adams, the entire crew there. I think he'll fit in well. He'll be a role player, and he was a role player on the Raptors. Patrick Patterson was never really a game changer, but he was a role player, and I think he did a solid job at playing his role.
Yeah, it's gonna be such an entertaining season, I feel. I cannot wait to see this OKC Thunder.
I know. It's a lot more exciting than last season. There's a lot more build-up for good reason than there was last season.
And like Minnesota, Houston, oh my, it's gonna be crazy, I tell you.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's gonna be crazy. Lots of wild things happening in the NBA. A lot of veterans returning. Manu Ginobili and Dirk Nowitzki. This might be their final NBA season.
Yeah, indeed. Love that Dirk.
Oh man, if Dirk goes out this season, I hope the Mavs at least make it to the first round of the playoffs. Dirk goes out on a high note. I believe he'll be fifth, probably this season. He'll be like fifth in all-time scoring or something like that.
Who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, it's amazing. The 7-footer from Germany, just a great player, one of my all-time favorite basketball players. And if this is his final season, then kudos on a phenomenal career. League MVP, NBA champion. That's an incredible resume. So if this is his last season, and Manu Ginobili, if this is Manu's last season as well, those are two legends, two of the best guys to ever play in the NBA. If this is their final season, then wow, that's just another story to add on to all the big off-season acquisitions that happen. That's another story to add on to that going into this NBA season. It's wild.
Yeah, and there's still Vincent Lamar Carter, who's on the Sacramento Kings at 40 years old.
Of course. What do you think about Carter, 40 years old, for the first off, what do you think about him still playing in the NBA? Because that's awesome. 40 years old, and he's still playing. He's still showing some of these moments where he's like 20 years old again. And what do you think about him joining the Sacramento Kings?
That was kind of like why the Kings?
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, he can still ball out. So I think there could potentially be a trade deadline deal where he gets traded to a playoff team, maybe. I would love if he got traded to the Raptors.
I agree.
Because I actually feel like the Raptors could use him in his three-point shooting.
Yeah, that's the thing. There is that nostalgia there. It would be great if Carter were to end his career with the Toronto Raptors, but yeah, like you said, he could still play, and the Raptors could use him. He would be a great veteran to have in the locker room, teach the younger players how to get things done, and he would be extremely useful on the court.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd he signed with the Kings when I feel like a lot of contenders could probably use him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As soon as I saw that he signed with Sacramento, I was like, what the heck's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good NBA season. I'm very excited for things to kick off. Raptors start the season on October 19th. The NBA regular season starts on October 17th. And it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch this year.
Yeah, I believe the first game of the season's the Cavs versus Celtics.
I know, isn't that awesome? You don't have to wait a month or a few weeks. You get Kyrie Irving going up against LeBron James right off the bat, first night of the NBA. And you also get to see over in the Western Conference, Houston Rockets going up against the Golden State Warriors at Oracle Arena. That's going to be a treat.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I feel like it's going to be a very exciting season this year.
Very much so, good sir. Very much so. All right, Nard Dogg. Well, before we wrap things up, just throw it out there before the season gets underway. What are your predictions? Who's going to the NBA Finals? Who is going to win it all? Who's going to win the NBA championship this year? What are your thoughts?
The Cavs, I think they're gonna do it. They're gonna go to the finals for the fourth straight year. But I feel like we're gonna have a different team in the West this year. Yep, we're gonna have the OKC Thunder going to the finals, and I'm gonna pick OKC to win in 6 or 7 games.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I am hoping for that. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that. But I'm going to switch things up from you, and I'm saying, yes, we're going to see a repeat of the past few seasons. We're going to see the Cleveland Cavaliers going up against the Golden State Warriors. I think it's going to be Cleveland and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Cleveland's going to win, go off to the NBA Finals to take on the Golden State Warriors. And I think it's actually going to be the Golden State Warriors against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. And the Warriors are just going to edge out the OKC Thunder and make their way into the NBA Finals. And I think that Cleveland is going to win it again this year. I think LeBron's going to pick up another NBA championship. Isaiah Thomas will win an NBA championship for the first time. Derrick Rose. And I think Cleveland will best the Golden State Warriors. And I'm thinking that next year it's going to be a little different. But yeah, I'm going to lock it in. And well, I won't say lock it in because my opinion might change as the season progresses. But right now I'm saying Cleveland, Golden State in the finals. Cleveland wins it.
Damn, we're both pretty bold.
I know, right? Just jumping.
No Warriors? No Warriors finals?
Jumping right to it. Who do you think is going to be league MVP this year? Any early predictions for that?
Russell Westbrook. He's a good favorite. I don't know. I think because Isaiah Thomas is gone for half the season, I think LeBron James is going to put up some crazy stats.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's going to have to.
I think LeBron's going to get the MVP this year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It won't be Steph Curry. I think it's going to come down to Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think LeBron's going to win MVP this season.
It's a good choice.
Well, there we go. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out in many months once the NBA season is wrapped up. Our early season predictions. We'll see if we're right. We may be completely wrong. It might be the Minnesota Timberwolves and New York Knicks in the NBA Finals.
New York, that's it.
Yeah. You know what? There might be hope after all for New York.
Oh boy, that team is just like forever awful.
Yeah. The New York Knicks forever in a pit of despair. Well, Nard Dogg, if people want to share their predictions with you and talk about basketball, how can they do so?
You can find me on the Twitter at David Bernardi7.
Excellent. And you could find me on the Twitter at JustinGoulet21. And of course, you can check out the Full Court Press Facebook page and the YouTube channel for all present, past, and future episodes are posted there. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Full Court Press. It's been really nice to get back into the groove, Mr. Bernardi.
Oh, for sure. Very fun. This is an awesome episode. And yeah, I can't wait for the season to start only in a few days.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Very excited for the NBA season to get underway. Well, thanks again so much, Nard Dogg. Always a pleasure. And thank you so much for listening to another episode of Full Court Press. And we will catch you next time.
Cheers.
You've just been hit with Full Court Press. Courtesy of the men, the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg and Raindrops. Goulet!